This just in, it's hot in mid-July.
Oh, Lord. Oh, my goodness.
Joe Rayo and Joe Chaffee on the Sunday morning Joe and Joe Weather Show. I was looking at all this stuff this morning, Joe. I'm thinking, it's mid-July, it's hot, it's humid, it's steam bath. Some places are going to see thunderstorms, some places won't. It's mid-July. This is how it works.
Well, it was 1 year ago, almost to the day, that we had our one and only heat wave in 2019, Joe. And
Right.
I think at Central Park, the temperature has already hit 96 this season. We didn't get any higher than 95 yesterday, but I think today there's a fair chance
What
that we'll
did
be
the city
keeping
get to yesterday?
at Central Park.
Yeah.
I don't think it hit 90. I don't think it went above 95. That's a good question. I know I can tell you
I'll
what it
look it
was
up.
here.
You know what? You would think we would look these things up beforehand, but folks, some days Joe and I like to take some time off every once in a while,
It was
as best
90.
we can.
It was 93 here at the home base yesterday. It is already, as of about a half an hour ago, was already 83. So I'm anticipating that we're going to see temperatures today that are going to go maybe not through the roof, but they're going to come awfully close to the roof
Okay.
this afternoon.
Yesterday at the park, 91 at 2:17 p.m. The record for the day yesterday was 101, set back in 1953. And the low was
Okay,
72. The record low yesterday was 57 in 1925,
wow.
and that was a
Well,
long
last year,
time
as I
ago.
said, we were in the midst of our only heat wave. And this year, it looks like, from my viewpoint, we're going to be seeing another hot one tomorrow. And then actually, we may actually, at least here in the Hudson Valley, we'll be in the 80s to around 90. We're going to take a bit off the heat and the humidity beginning on Tuesday. But
Right.
the big question I want to know, and what you think, Joe, is like I was looking last night at all, and the new runs are just coming in. The dynamic models last night were kind of suggesting more that we'd see thunderstorm or even a few widely scattered showers late tonight and into the early part of tomorrow. Whereas if you look at the overall picture, the next cold front won't be through until the end of tomorrow. And the last I saw, the Storm Prediction Center had us in a marginal risk for severe weather later tomorrow.
Right.
So I'm not sure
I
though. What do
tended
you?
to downplay the something overnight into tomorrow morning, which is license for you to make sure you put it in the forecast. Now that I'm downplaying it, but I tend to think that not much will happen until that whatever comes up late in the day tomorrow. And even with what happens late in the day, I don't know how I wasn't exactly overwhelmed with the dynamics for late tomorrow into tomorrow night.
Yeah, we're supposed to see a dip in the dew point behind this, whatever comes through late tomorrow and tomorrow evening. But I think actually we're going to see a breath of fresh air, so to speak, by Friday into next weekend. I think that will be the true, because there's more of a bend in the upper level winds. There's hardly a bend or hardly anything behind this system for Tuesday, Wednesday. I think the flow remains more zonal than anything else.
Right, and we have
Um,
to wait really for late in the week and into the
right,
weekend when you have a solid trough that's going to be dropping down in the
correct.
east, and I think bring some genuine relief in the humidity. The temperatures will come down a little bit, but not. This is still mid-July. You can't. The Canadian air masses that come down in late June through July are not exactly cool air masses. But when you get into August, you start to see the highs coming down in August. With those highs, you start to get into some of the cooler air that's beginning that's very slowly building up in those regions in Canada. But until then, we're just kind of crawling along. I also, Joe, didn't see too much in the tropics to worry about right now going forward. However, I'm thinking toward the end of the month, looking at the overall profile of what's going on both in the Atlantic and the Pacific, I think at the end of the month we may see something start to gel up somewhere out in the Atlantic basin. And I'm not necessarily I mean, that's not exactly a breaking news type of forecast.
Right.
If the tropics suddenly decide to get active toward the end of July, you would expect that to happen in some, but not all seasons. But just looking at the overall flavor of the upper air of what's going on both in the Atlantic and on the Pacific side, it looks to me like something's going to try to go somewhere, and maybe in the tropical Atlantic is where we'll see something try to form. But that's longer term speculation in my book.
Yeah, yeah. So we get a little bit quiet and in the tropics, and we'll just have to put up with the heat today, the so-called dog days of summer. And for those of you who are often wondered, why do we call them dog days? It goes back hundreds or thousands of years. At this particular moment in time, Joe, the dog star, Sirius, which is the brightest star in the sky, is more or less aligned or is very close to the position of the sun. We can't see Sirius, obviously, because of the brilliance of the sunlight, but it was thought that the combination of the brightest star of the daytime, the sun, and the brightest star of the night, Sirius, combined causes the extreme heat that we go through at this time of the year. So we call these days dog days. By the middle of August, Sirius moves far enough away from the sun so that we begin to see it again in the nighttime sky before sunrise, and so that puts an end to the dog days. But right now we're right in the midst of dog day weather, and we'll just have to put up with it. I think today in the Hudson Valley, I'm across the lower Hudson Valley, I'm going for highs of 91 to 97, and even along the immediate shore areas, you literally have to be immediate, right down by the water's edge, to get any kind of relief from any kind of a light sea breeze, because even there, temperature is going to be well into the 80s to near 90, I think, this afternoon.
It's a time of year where you should be eating peak freens. You know why?
Why? Because
They're
they're very serious
they're a
cookie.
very serious cookie.
Yeah.
All right, we do have a little bit of severe weather action today. Just want to bring up the Storm Prediction Center's views of things for this afternoon. And we have a slight risk of severe weather in western and north central New York, northwestern and western Pennsylvania, much of Ohio, much of Indiana, and southeastern Michigan. Actually, you can see the overlaid radar there showing some strong storms coming into eastern Michigan already, and back to just excuse me, just past Chicago into northern Illinois. Another area of slight risk in western Nebraska, a small portion of northeastern Colorado, into parts of Montana. Otherwise, actually, Joe, you don't see this too often in the summertime. You draw a line from coastal Maine through central Massachusetts, across northwest New Jersey, and down to Delaware Bay. From there east, the Storm Prediction Center has 0 thunderstorms. No thunderstorms are forecast for the coastal for the general coastal plain, and
Right.
shows you just how stable the atmosphere is. That you can get it hot. The dew points today are in the mostly going to be mid and upper 60s, which those are not shabby dew points by any stretch of the imagination. But you don't have the mechanism to really set off even isolated thunderstorms, at least in the coastal plain. The severe weather zones are well to the west, but just want to acknowledge that. And by the way, as of I have these are the actual high temperatures so far today. So basically, these are the 11 a.m. temperatures, and we can already see the
Are you sure they're
first.
the 11 a.m. temperatures?
I think 11 a.m. Eastern time. Why?
No, I'm just saying that by the looks of things that these could very easily be the 2 or 3 o'clock temperatures. In fact, they're even above the norms for 2 or 3 o'clock in
Oh
some
yeah,
places.
no, these are 11 a.m. These are 11 a.m. numbers.
Yeah.
The 91 Caldwell right now is 91 with a dew point of 70. Uh,
I
West
That was
Hampton,
the good part about yesterday, Joe, is the dew point temperatures. Many places
they were
yesterday
reasonable.
they were reasonable. They were in the upper 50s and around or just above 60, and then they started to climb. And I noticed also when they started to climb, when the dew points started going into the low and mid, and even a few spots got to the upper 60s late in the day, that's when we had this veil or swath of high but thin clouds roll across our area.
Right.
And I pointed out to a couple of people. I said, "It's here comes the heat and the humidity because it starts getting it always in these situations. It starts getting warmer. The reaction that the atmosphere has always appears first at the high levels and works its way down. And it has certainly worked its way down right now. Back to you.
Oh, I'm just looking. By the way, at 11 o'clock, it's already 90 in Boston and Worcester at 90. I noticed some of the folks on the chat board are having a running debate about Albany today. It's only 82 at 11 o'clock in Albany. They're thinking about temperatures maybe going up higher than what Albany is forecasting because they were too low yesterday, and might be too low today. Syracuse is at 90 degrees. Buffalo right now at 11 o'clock at 88, 88 with a dew point of 72. And this is where your severe weather zone is. Dansville, New York, in southwestern New York, they are 90 with a dew point of 72. It's a little more reasonable in western Pennsylvania. Temperatures there in the low to mid 80s. And then yesterday we had Baltimore getting to 99, and Carroll County Airport, northwest of Baltimore, got to 100. So right now, Oregon Ridge, which is west of Baltimore, is 92. The Phillips Army Airfield is 90. Do I have an ob for Baltimore? Apparently not. Ah, there we go. Baltimore International Airport as of 11 o'clock is 93. Washington D.C. is at 91. So you're headed in the direction you're supposed to be heading. And by the way, in terms of the highs, I pulled this off of SPC's site today to show you the extent of 90s and the purple middle to upper 90s. Hang on a second. I got to mute. I have to mute something. Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. People on Discord trying to figure out if we have a live stream going on, which we do. But yeah, I'm just looking at the high temperatures today. There's nothing here that stands out. I guess what I'm getting at is it probably this is where I always get a little bit frustrated where you get people that are writing about news stories, heat wave grips the United States and all the rest of it, or across the South. I don't see anything here that really stands out in terms of what you would not expect in a typical July. So none of this today is breaking news, including the dry heat in the Southwest. This map reflects 4 p.m. temperatures as forecast by the HRRR. And the purple is all 90, and the brighter purple is 95 plus. And then you start to get to the 100-degree readings in the Southwest. This is all what you would expect. And then you look up in the Northern Plains because we do have, there is a little bit of a cold front here that is swinging back. I'll make it blue for a cold front just to be intellectually honest. Hold on. I'm having trouble today.
Are we frozen?
No. I'm trying to change the color. There we go. And make it a little bit bigger. I have to do everything with there we go. I wanted to draw a nice blue cold front coming in. That's swinging across the Great Lakes with that severe weather. And of course, if you look behind it, across the Great Lakes and up in the Northern Plains, temperatures are actually nice, 70s and low 80s. We should be so lucky, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't turn that down.
No, not at all. So let's bring up the GoSat. I'll bring up the U.S. satellite view here. And then while we have it up, I think maybe I'll bring up we'll go out and look at the tropics. It's one of those days, Joe. There's not a whole lot happening today, or for that matter, this week. So here's your U.S. satellite loop. Hard to find any clouds in the Northeast. This is no shocker. It looks like there's a little bit of cloud cover going on the satellite. It looks like some cloud cover along the south coast of New Jersey. A little bit of ocean stuff that's rolled in for some reason, but I don't see anything going on. Yesterday I went walking about 7:30 in the morning, and I walked I walked to Cedar Beach, which is about 5 miles from where I live, and when I got to near the North Shore, when I got very close to the beach, it was about 10 degrees cooler because of, I walked out of sunshine and into fog, and it was about 10 degrees cooler. The sun hadn't burned through the low clouds yet, so it was a nice little relief until about 10 or 10:30. Then it finally burned off. But you see the thunderstorms, Joe. You got this with this next front. Again, it's not the most impressive cold front in the world, but it is producing these showers and storms that are moving southeastward. And that is all we have to look forward to when it gets here late tomorrow.
Right, right. Yeah, I would guess. I'm just scratching my head because these models are saying, like, for example, now the overnight run of the GFS, categorically, the highest numbers for precipitation came at 2 o'clock tomorrow morning, 13%, 8 o'clock in the morning, 16, and then a sharp drop into the low single digits, 3% at 2 p.m., 2% at 8 p.m. That's the time when you would expect, activity be the flare up would be in the late day and evening hours tomorrow. And yeah, look, the probability of precip categorically on the GFS last night, 2%, 3%, even thunderstorms. They had the highest little spike at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm scratching my head saying, where are they getting this? Even the NAM was slightly in the same camp as the GFS. But obviously, if you draw or extrapolate that front in the Midwest now, it should be arriving here by the end of tomorrow, and that is when we should be seeing some thundery activity. And that is why I guess also Storm Prediction Center said, "Hey, watch out! Some of this could be marginally strong."
You still with me?
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Okay, no, I heard a little odd sound. I pulled up the tropical satellite just to look at what's going on. There's a little bit of a development here going on near the north of Hispaniola in the Dominican Republic. We I don't see anything coming out of that at least over the next couple of days. Neither does the Hurricane Center. It looks like just some showers and thunderstorms that are flaring up there. And the other thing I would point out, pay attention to, is what's out in watch this zone in the tropical Atlantic. That is sitting roughly between the equator and 10 degrees north. It's still pretty far to the south. If you want to get that activity, has got to go north of 10 degrees north, which is I'll draw a red line here. So you want these that cloud mass has to be coming out in this zone somewhere between, let's say, between 5 and north and 15 degrees north, and then you could start to seriously consider whether these systems down the road may become tropical. But right now, when you look at the Atlantic and you look at what's going on in the subtropical Atlantic, there's really nothing here to speak of. And you know what? No shocker. We had six named storms. We have six named storms already on the books, and
Right.
we're not even. We're at July 19th. We have gone years where we haven't seen the A storm until mid August in some seasons. So there's nothing here that's going on that would suggest that the activity is going to shut down when we get into the peak part of the season. If anything, the fact that the Pacific remains unusually quiet. I don't remember the last time we've had a season in the Pacific where we've gone to almost the last week of July, Joe, and we have yet to have a hurricane on the Pacific side.
Wow,
That's
that
unusual.
that is unusual because usually the Pacific cooks up a lot quicker than the Atlantic, and yeah, we usually have more than a few by the middle part of July. So
Most of the but
it's kind of strange.
in most seasons you've had maybe a hurricane or two even in the month of June on the
Right.
Pacific side. Here's where the Hurricane Center's got a 20% chance that this could develop after Wednesday as it moves toward the west. But for now, it looks pretty quiet. And on the Eastern Pacific side, they've got two systems looking at, though they finally have got one way out that they're saying there's a 60% chance that this could become a tropical cyclone in the next 5 days. That is out at about 15 degrees north and about 125 degrees west. So it's already uh, rather far out in the Pacific. And then one behind it that is disorganized, 30% chance that it could develop late this week. But yeah, at this stage, not to have had a hurricane in the Eastern Pacific is pretty odd, and I think that signals in my mind. I think that's a signal that the Atlantic season part of the season is going to be a busy one, but we'll get there soon enough.
You know what? I'll bet it'll be a case where you know, kind of like what we saw during the wintertime season, where there wasn't much in terms of cold weather and snow, and all of a sudden in April and May it got cold, and we actually saw snow. Maybe by the time we get to October and even November, maybe the Pacific will start churning out one storm after another. Maybe it's just unusually slow this year. So
Yeah, well, we'll see. And in the meantime, I just pulled up the radar. You can see the rather impressive looking area of thunderstorms moving across Michigan and northwest Indiana and through, looks like some storms just went through Chicago. There's nothing going on in the northeast and mid Atlantic states other than a couple of showers up in northern Maine that are moving through and moving south. Some storms off the North Carolina coast and some scattered storms in Florida and in the Florida Straits, along the coast of Alabama, Mississippi, and southeast Louisiana, off the Texas coast. And then you've got some more showers and storms back up in parts of the northern plains and in southeastern Colorado. And again, this is 11 o'clock in the morning, so uh, I'm sure you'll see more activity popping up later today in those risk zones we talked about. Just want to bring up the Storm Prediction Center's forecast for tomorrow. They have that marginal risk, Joe. It's mainly for the same. It's odd because for the same area today that they have no thunderstorms is where they have the marginal risk for tomorrow.
right,
So,
right.
and in the area where they have the slight risk of severe weather today is where they have no chance for thunderstorms tomorrow. Slight risk also up in the northern plains, and we look forward to Tuesday. So this is Tuesday into Wednesday, and we have New England, no risk of thunderstorms, a marginal risk, western Pennsylvania to southern Illinois, marginal risk over in parts of Wisconsin and Minnesota, and marginal risk up in the west central plains, moving up into parts of the Rockies. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what the overall pattern is telling us, Mr. Rayo. And I don't know if you've been looking at the models over the last number of days, since we haven't been together since Thursday, but it does look like in the longer haul that this flat east west ridge that lies across the U.S. and out into the Atlantic is going to start shifting westward, and troughing is going to start coming into the east more and more. And this is as we get toward the end of the month and the beginning of August. I'm looking at the run from yesterday, where the models seem to want to bring down a rather strong northwest flow toward the end of the forecast period. And now I'll switch over to today. It'll serve me right if there's a ridge that's built from Florida to Labrador. Uh, but just looking at today's 500 for the first time. Uh, Actually, I have to go back one run because it's too early for the new GFS. I want standard time back. Can we have standard time back?
I wish we had standard time back.
Okay. Um,
Uh,
so I'm looking here on.
would it kill anybody if the sun, if we were back on standard time? Would it kill anybody if the sun came up at 4:30 in the morning? I mean, that's the outplay of the.
No, maybe I would like it to cause a little bit of agony to the neighbor of mine who decided that 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning was a very good time to come out with the leaf blower.
Ah,
Yeah.
that means he would come out at 7 a.m. if we were on standard time.
Correct.
Ah,
So there's a special place in hell for somebody like that. But here's your east-west ridge, Mr. Rayo, that of course is responsible for our hot weather, and we've got this shortwave trough that, especially the one later in this week, that just kind of flattens that ridge out, so we get a real humidity break. And I'm kind of looking here going forward, that upper high never really builds back very much into the northeast. We kind of stay in this northwest flow that actually strengthens as we head into the first days of August. I'm looking at the last run, and I even have a cutoff that drops into western New York and western Pennsylvania. I'll say this: if you get that ridge, the upper high moves back into the Rockies. If eventually later on into August and September we start to see that ridge move more toward the west coast and see more and more examples of troughing into the east, you have to be a little bit careful in terms of what could come out of this. We've already had one tropical storm form in our backyard and move up the east coast. So who's to say if troughing in the east is one of the things you look for if there's going to be activity along the Atlantic seaboard, and we'll have to kind of pay attention to that if it becomes a reality.
Now, just while you were talking, Joe, out of curiosity, I looked at the new FOOS, the new North American or NAM run, the FOOS, the tabular data
Right.
as of 12Z. And I don't know what it is, Joe. Again, I've been saying the dynamic models seem to be waving a red flag for late tonight. On the latest 12Z run of the FOOS this is for LaGuardia now, at 2 o'clock in the morning, they have a lifted index of -6. They have a plus, a positive vertical motion, positive vertical velocity, the same for 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And in fact, there's straight on through. It doesn't look like they have any kind of measurable precipitation. But again, the biggest ripple or wave, if you will, of instability is coming on through not at the end of the day tomorrow, but late tonight into the early part of tomorrow at 36 hours, which is 8 o'clock tomorrow evening. They have 51% on the mid layers of the for relative humidity, 51%, and a minus 1.3 vertical motion. So they actually have subsidence and modest amounts of humidity at the end of tomorrow. So I have not looked at the map. I have not looked at the NAM projection of the map. Maybe you
shows
want
no,
to look at it,
shows
but
nothing. So shows nothing for tonight.
it well, again, but if you look, this is the 12 kilometer because this is the 12
Yeah, the
kilometer.
12.
I don't know. If you would have shown me this and I would look at it, I'd say, well, why are you showing me this? Are you implying there's going to be some, shower or storm activity? So maybe something late tonight or tomorrow morning by
Well, I
first,
mean, it does,
by first
and the
thing.
GFS also it does produce some storms that move up through upstate New York north of I-90. But there's nothing, around us. There's a little dot somewhere in south central PA, and that's it.
And, Joe, here's something lovely on the NAM for late tomorrow. Thickness. This is for LaGuardia now. Thickness 580,
Ah,
and the
ah,
T1 and the T1 33.
a T1 of 33. Well, you don't see
33.
that very often. That translates to about a 91 or 2 for a temperature at that low level of the atmosphere, and it's not
Yeah,
quite at the ground. So that's
yeah.
that that's that's
Oh,
that's pretty hot.
yeah.
That's disgustingly hot, actually. I'm looking at the GFS, Joe. There's that weak front for Monday night. There's a little bit of a high that builds up into near Lake Huron. So again, you might, I think your point about maybe a little bit of dew point relief is well taken. A stronger front Wednesday, and again on Thursday. It looks like a lead system, maybe a lead front that dies out on Wednesday with some showers and storms, and then another front on Thursday late with showers and storms, and then perhaps a better dew point break for Friday and Saturday going into next weekend, because we're going to see that trough in the east a little bit stronger, of a northwest flow, and then I'm just kind of looking down the road, uh, with a northwest flow that's going to be close. There are more fronts that come through, so this would argue that beyond what happens, we have this 4 day stretch of 90-degree plus. For the most part, it'll be a 4 day stretch. But after that, it looks like yeah, you might have the occasional day here and there, but you're not going to have a setup where you're going to be able to string together 90-degree days for more than maybe one or two, one or two of them may perhaps, but that's it. Because there'll be a cold front coming through every couple of days to shut it off.
Right,
Ooh, then a
right.
little spins up a little thing on. If we could get excited at 366 hours.
I don't know about you, but a day like today, or what we may see tomorrow, kind of brings back in my memory the days in the mid and late '70s when it got this hot, and you'd always hear about Big Alice. Remember Big Alice, the Con Edison? Apparently, that
Oh
was where
boy.
most of New York's power came from. Big Alice. I think the grid was basically based in Queens, and that they always used to say, "Well, we need to shut things off. Don't turn on your air conditioners too hard, or else we'll have a complete shutdown of Big Alice." I don't know. You don't hear about Big
Boy,
Alice.
that's
You don't hear
that
about
that's
Big
really
Alice anymore.
jogging. That's really jogging my memory. Um,
You do remember that though, right?
faintly,
Oh, all right.
faintly. Uh, Scott Briller pointed out to me yesterday, by the way, the chairman, that yesterday was 8 years ago. Yesterday, that Central Park hit 100. Okay, it might have been. I don't know if that was the last time it hit 100. Probably wasn't. I have my memory is not as good as it used to be, Joe. I've said that many times, but it was yesterday, that anniversary 8 years ago. So that would be 2012. Central Park hitting 100, heat index of 110. So are you ready for some Briller Jeopardy on this Sunday?
Right. And by the way, Mr. Briller has a good one going on the chat board. Which day has had more temperatures in the 90s than any other day, I guess, during the summertime?
Which
So the
week?
greatest,
Which day of the week?
no, which day in the summertime? I would
Oh,
I'm
you mean like
interpreting it
what
to
calendar day?
which calendar day has had more 90-degree days than any other?
All
I
right,
don't know if he already
I'll
posted.
take a stab at it. July 22nd.
I don't know if he posted the answer yet.
Well,
I'm looking
that's my
here.
guess. So, by the way, before we get to these, there's one.
Oh, July 18th, Joe.
What's that?
July 18th, 46 times the temperature in Central Park has hit 90, and the second place day is today.
Oh, wow. Okay, the 18th and 19th. That's
Right.
that's that's cool. So, I have my own trivia question for you. What television series is the only television series that it was the first television series to be in color from start to finish?
From start to finish,
Right.
I'm going to take a guess because I've never seen this show in black and white. I've seen, like, for example, Gunsmoke in black and white,
Right.
and then it transitioned to color. But I've never seen this show in black and white. I'm going to take a guess and say Bonanza.
No,
No,
not Bonanza.
really?
Yes, not Bonanza. It was,
Oh,
and it's a show you've seen. Apparently, it's Family Affair.
Family Affair.
Yes,
It started in the.
it was the first show.
Are you telling me that Bonanza started in black and white?
That's
Because I've never seen a
well.
black and white show.
Listen, I'm gonna just tell you who the source for all of this is. Kathy Garver, who played Sissy. I happened
Uh
to
huh.
catch an interview. I happened to see an interview of her, and she said that Family Affair was the first show ever to be in color from start to finish.
Uh huh.
So if you want to start a fight, you could start a fight with Sissy from Family Affair.
That show had the same. This every show was basically the same thing. You'd see Sebastian Cabot come in to Brian Keith's little office and say, "Master Jody and Buffy are stuck in the elevator," and you see Brian Keith go, "Oh, well, French." So, it was
and
Brian Keith
Brian
never got
and
Brian Keith in that show never got aggravated or angry. He never go, "Ah, rah, rah." It's always the same. "Oh, well, French."
and then he'd bring a date home. The date would hate the kids, and he couldn't marry
Right. They
her.
even see the kids and like,
Every episode, he'd bring home this woman. She'd
well,
hate the
Bill, it
right,
was fun. It was fun, Bill, but
right. She'd hate the kids. They couldn't get married. Next.
and then of course when Mr. French had an injury or something, and he had to leave for a few weeks, and he brought in his brother Giles or whatever,
Yes,
and then Giles went to do TV commercials.
because
I'm
it,
sure you recognize this wonderful melody.
he is because he's in a family of nine with nine siblings, and they all were raised as to be domestic help.
Right,
That just makes total sense.
right.
So, let's see. Since 1869, how many heat waves of 10 days or more has New York City had?
Of 10 days or more heat
Yes.
waves. In my memory, they've been few and far between in the last. I'm going to say, I will say 9.
Mwah. Uh, 4.
4. Okay.
4.
Well, thank God for that.
And the longest, how many days?
The longest stretch of 90 plus degree
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it? Wasn't it 12?
12, correct.
Well,
Okay.
one thing I'd like to ask Mr. Briller. He said that um, the 18th had 46 90-degree days, and today the 19th is the second, but he didn't give the number for July 19th. Scott, if you're watching, can you tell me how many 90-degree days we've had on the 19th of July? And that's my request right now. So
Christina Pedia mentioning that my volume is going up during the stream. I think it's because I leaned over near the microphone a couple of. I'm leaning back and forth. So I will try to just kind of sit still in the meantime. All right, and the other question is, how much money did Lucille Ball earn in the first season of I Love Lucy per episode?
oh dear. Well, there's something like 30 episodes the first season. Per
30.
episode or for the whole season?
No, per episode.
Per episode?
Yeah.
And they had to reach into their own pockets to actually buy the rights to it. So
Which was
uh,
that was probably one of the greatest business moves ever made. But
unbelievable, isn't it? That was such a stupid CBS. Oh, all right. If you want to buy it, go ahead. Who's going to watch this after the second
right,
season?
nobody even had any idea of the concept of
I,
the
I'm going to
rerun.
say I'm going to say nothing, or maybe 1 cent.
No, they got paid. They did get paid a salary. It was $2,000 per episode,
Okay,
and they did 39 seasons, 39 episodes in the first season. That would be $78,000, which you have to adjust for inflation. So I guess that would be the equivalent. You want to multiply it by at least 20. So I'm thinking, this would be the equivalent of getting paid, say, $20,000 or $30,000 an episode. When you look at a lot of these shows where these people are making $1 million an episode now, so it was really small potatoes, no matter how you looked at it.
I saw something recently about Robin Williams and how when after he made his appearance on Happy Days and they offered him Mork and Mindy, and he looked at the contract. The contract originally he said originally it looked like to him in his eyes $1,500 an episode, and he was ecstatic at that. He said, "Wow, 1,500 an episode. That's great or whatever." And they said, "No, Robin, look again. It's 15,000." But he would have been happy with 1,500.
Oh yeah, but that's a lot of work. You're basically working. So you read the stories about. Um, I was reading about how Raymond Burr basically lived on the set 7 days a week. He had a bedroom that was constructed there because he would have to get up in the morning and you work 15, 16-hour days easily. You're
Right.
memorizing scripts. Then you're recording. If you're doing a show before a live audience, is one thing. If you're doing it uh, where it doesn't involve a live audience, it's another. It's hard. It is hard work. And I don't know. You might have seen it a few times at your time in FiOS when they used to come into the building and shoot scenes
Right.
for TV shows and movies.
Right.
They would spend sometimes 2 days, 2 days to get a 15-second shot that they were trying to get.
That's
So
right. You remember that long hallway that they had at FiOS? And I remember one night, it was a Friday night, they were filming. I actually had to wait 5 minutes before I could leave because they were doing a chase scene, and the guy actually said, "And action!" And all of a sudden, these three guys coming down that hallway at top speed, being chased by another guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was interesting, but I said, for this, I have to wait 5 minutes before I can get out of the building. It's crazy.
Scene. Ricardo screen test. Take one.
Yes.
Action. I know. It's. I have a very, very good friend of mine who's a consultant for a couple of TV series. One that aired on CBS that ran about 4 seasons. I won't say what the name of the show is, and I occasionally put up a promo for him on my Facebook page. It's not what it looks like. It is a lot of it's a lot of hard work. It's very involved, and it's a long day, and sometimes it would be a long day overnight and a next day. So it ain't all glamorous TV people.
Would you like to have your question for the day or
Yeah,
questions?
go ahead,
All
and,
right.
and then we can wrap it up because it's I
It's
want
getting hot.
it's getting hot. Go ahead.
What was the name of Quint's shark hunting boat in Jaws?
I I don't know. I have no idea.
The answer is the Orca.
Oh, I should have known that, but as a matter of fact,
Well, here's one.
I was
Here's
watching
one.
on BBC this morning. I was watching orca knocking seals off ice floats in Antarctica.
Right.
But go on.
And you say to yourself, how could they possibly just the cameraman? Can't they do something? Save those poor little seals? No, you're supposed to just let nature run its course,
Well,
right?
those orca have to eat.
Yeah, exactly.
But go on.
Well, get him Kentucky Fried Chicken or
Oh,
something.
stop. Actually, it was pretty fascinating, Joe. It was a team of orca, and what they would do is with their tails together. They worked as a team to get the seals off these floating patches of ice where the seals would be safe. They would flick their tails underwater and create waves that would break the ice up and force the seal to go into the water, and that's where the orca would be able to
And that's
catch
where
them.
they got him.
Yeah, and they would do it as a team, which is fascinating. Go on.
How many primetime Emmys did Lucille Ball win?
In total for all series.
I guess.
Now, there's also, because there are different Emmys for different things, I'm thinking, I know there were 2 Emmys for I Love Lucy, plus I think there were 2 Emmys for her as a comedic actress, and then I think there may have been 1 or 2 Emmys as far as best show. So, but if you're
Did she
talking,
win an Emmy? Did she win
and
an
then one
Emmy?
for the Lucy show that she won, I'm going to say, I don't know how it's counted. I'm going to say 5.
Well, the answer that Scott gave was 4.
Okay.
But however, I'm wondering, she did a dramatic role late in her career. I think she basically played like a bag lady.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't think she was nominated for an Emmy for that. I
That
don't think
that
so.
that was a tremendous acting, a piece of acting that she did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was almost like crying at the end of that show, and how she could not even be nominated for something like that.
I don't think she might have been. It might have been in one of the categories that you don't really hear too much about.
Right.
So, but that there was 4 for the that sounds about right. So
Right.
I'm thinking she won 2 for the Lucy show and then 2 for I Love Lucy. So that would make sense. But if you
And
start to add all the technical awards that they had and series awards, then the number actually is higher.
My goodness.
It,
And do you know who never in his entire career won an Emmy? And you'd say to yourself, how is that possible? There was one person, and I'll give you a hint.
well, Jackie Gleason for one.
Jackie Gleason. That was it. Jackie Gleason. Jackie Gleason was the one. Johnny Carson once asked Jackie Gleason, "Who was the person who gave you the nickname, the Great One?" And he said, "Lucy. Lucille Ball was the one who called him." And I just saw the other day, somebody sent me this, Joe. I never saw. I vaguely remembered it, and I guess you can find it on YouTube, where Jack Benny made an appearance on the Lucy Show,
Yes.
and somebody walks into the shot and says, "Excuse me, Mr. Benny." It was like a tour. A bus tour came into Jack Benny's house. Lucy was there, and Jack Benny was selling things in his house to the people who were coming in on the tour. And somebody walked in and said, "Excuse me, Mr. Benny, the bus driver wants to know if he can have lunch now." Oh, of course. And who walks in dressed as Ralph Cramden? But
But Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason. The only thing that Jackie Gleason says after he made his sandwich, before he took a bite, he said, "How sweet."
Oh,
And you say to yourself, you look at that and you say, my God, three legends, three
yeah.
icons, three people, Jack Benny, Jackie Gleason, Lucille Ball in the same room on the same stage. To have the privilege to have been in that audience, that just blows your mind.
Yeah, well, and that was a time of class. That was a time now looking back when television was in its infancy, really.
Right.
Now it's become this sort of evil business that we we don't care for anymore.
And
Uh,
question number 4 from Mr. Briller is what is that? No, actually, question 3 and the final question. What director won the most Oscars?
what director?
What director won the most Oscars? And the hint is his movie spanned 1935 to 1952.
35 to 52. I'm trying to think of how many Oscars Frank Capra won. Um, I know it's not Howard Hawks. God, I know it's not George Cukor.
Want me to
Or,
give you the initials?
yeah, go ahead.
JF.
AF.
J.
I'm sorry.
J like
Oh,
in,
J.
yeah,
JF.
J. Yes.
JF.
Mhm.
JF. J. Oh, John Ford.
John Ford. There you go.
John Ford. How Green Was My Valley.
He won 4 Oscars.
Yes.
Hmm.
How Green Was My Valley. And I'll have to really think this out. It'll take me too long to do that. So
He didn't give me the names of the movies, so I wouldn't be able to fact check you if.
I actually watched The Maltese Falcon last night on Turner, and for the first time, I understood the movie from beginning to end. It finally made sense to me.
See, it only took you 60 years.
Yeah, I still have not figured, and no one has. No one on this earth has ever figured out the Big Sleep. If you want to watch a movie with Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall, which is why you would watch that movie because they're so good together, and you will not understand any of it. It makes no sense, and that's kind of it's not. Apparently now they've decided that it never was supposed to make sense. So, but it's worth to watch if only for the interaction between Bogart and Bacall, and but I will. No one has ever figured that movie out. So anyway, that's something for you to do if you're ever bored one night. Watch The Big Sleep and then report back to me and tell me what you think of it.
Okay. And
Okay.
Christianopedia says that the first series to be filmed, she has a difference of opinion with Sissy. The first series to be filmed entirely in color was NBC's Norby, a sitcom which lasted exactly 13 weeks from January to April 1955 and was replaced by repeats of Ford Theater's color episodes.
Hmm.
And she says
All
early
right.
color.
Well, this again, I didn't research this. This was Kathy Garver of Family Affair because if I don't know that anybody would actually remember the series otherwise, even though it ran for a number of years, and a lot of the people that were on that show met their demise in really bizarre ways. So, but that's what she said. I'm just saying what Kathy said. So anyway,
Okay.
all right,
Yeah,
everybody,
I'll argue with you.
get to the beach, get to the pool, have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I'll kiss you later. I'm eating a potato.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Take care. I'll see you tomorrow. Everybody, have a great day. Thanks for being here on a Sunday. And also, if you're late, this will be on podcast in about 30 minutes or so. And you could listen to it on Google Podcasts, Spotify, and I think it's even on iTunes now, but it's definitely on the other two. Have a great day.